Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 103 based on novel. Sonia, let's start. The stars linger and the bright moon shines. In the twinkling of an eye, it is dark. At this moment, in a cave filled with fluorescence, Xiao Yan is sitting on a piece of bluestone. In front of him, the red beast tripod stands out. The fire in the tripod is penetrating, the fire is rising, and the terrible high temperature is still burning even across the medicine tripod. Well, suddenly, there was a low sound of singing in the cave. It sounded quite smooth, as if a beauty had just awakened from her sleep. At the moment, on a bluestone bed a few feet away from Xiao Yang, a beautiful girl just woke up from her coma. This girl is the girl who fell into a coma again in order to avoid Xiao Yang during the day. When the girl woke up, her beautiful eyes trembled and opened slowly. The first thing she saw was the cold stone wall above her head. Then the girl remembered what had happened during the day. Suddenly, the girl's heart tightened slightly and wanted to get up, but she found that she couldn't even move because her injury was getting worse and worse. Her already weak body brought her only a heavy sense of weakness at the moment. Aware of this, the girl's pale and pretty face suddenly changed slightly. If she was really sent back to Sun Che's group by the boy in the daytime, wouldn't she really be hurt? With this in mind, the girl immediately bit her silver teeth and endured the pain from her body. The girl slowly turned her head and looked at it along the shaking fire on the wall. At the next moment, the girl's pretty face could not help but coagulate slightly. The first thing in her sight was a huge red medicine tripod, which was engraved with all kinds of warcraft. Some of them could not be named based on the girl's knowledge. Immediately, Xiao Yang, dressed in a black robe, sitting cross-legged, with a gorgeous fire in his hand, appeared in the girl's beautiful eyes. Well, surprised for a moment, the girl hurried to look elsewhere in the cave, but found that there were only her and Xiao Yang in the cave. Immediately, the girl understood in her heart. Looking at this, Xiao Yang didn't really give her to those guys again. What Xiao Yang said during the day may be just a temporary joke. While the girl turned her head to look at Xiao Yang, the latter also seemed to feel something. The slightly closed eyes slowly opened, and the action in her hand also paused and looked at the girl. At last, Xiao Yang and the girl's beautiful eyes looked at each other with 4 eyes. The girl's pretty face was slightly frozen, and Xiao Yang glanced away. That's the way. Why, wake up. Hearing Xiao Yang's knowingly asking words, the girl unexpectedly blinked her smart eyes this time, and then wanted to sit up. Maybe she felt that would make her feel more comfortable. I think you'd better not move. The injuries in your body are repeated and add to the injuries. If you dare to move again, you'll die. Looking back, Xiao Yang continued to concentrate on the medicine tripod in front of him. At the same time, he said to the girl indifferently, Hearing Xiao Yang's words, a look of fear appeared on the girl's beautiful cheeks. The willow eyebrows frowned slightly. The girl skimmed her lovely mouth, and then lay back with a helpless face. In addition to being bored, the girl had to look at Xiao Yang. After noticing his skilled fire control technique, the girl was surprised in her heart. She looked at Xiao Yang's young face and said, "Are you a pharmacist?" Unexpectedly, this young man in black robe, who looks like her age, is not only superior to her, but also a herbalist. Looking at this skilled fire control skill, I'm afraid his level of herbalist will not be low. However, Xiao Yang was indifferent to this. He didn't mean to show off his medicine refining skills in front of the girl. Just in order to heal the girl, Xiao Yang had taken his last imperial pill for her. Now, the injury in the girl's body is more serious than before. Without the help of imperial pill, I'm afraid the girl really has a life worry. Xiao Yang is not a person who likes to do good deeds, but the girl's second serious injury is related to him. He can't sit idly by. Therefore, Xiao Yang has no choice but to refine the healing pill for her. Ignored by Xiao Yang, the girl turned her eyes on Xiao Yang. Then she turned her eyes and looked at the red medicine tripod in front of Xiao Yang. She was a little curious and surprised about the medicine tripod in front of Xiao Yang. Unexpectedly, with her knowledge of warcraft, she couldn't recognize all the warcraft depicted on the medicine tripod. What was the origin of the medicine tripod? Looking at the red medicine tripod, the girl frowned. She seemed to have some impression of it in her mind, but in the twinkling of an eye, she disappeared again. It was not until Xiao Yang refined the quantity of medicinal materials in the medicine tripod to about the same after the good film was carved that the girl suddenly thought of something. Her white and flawless face was slightly frozen. Then, Her little face was full of surprise and looked at the medicine tripod in front of Xiao Yang. Then, she turned her eyes to Xiao Yang and opened her mouth slightly. He said with great surprise in his tone. "You medicine tripod is the 6th beast tripod on the Tianding list. Who are you?" The beast tripod was recognized. Xiao Yang frowned lightly. He kept moving in his hand, but he looked at the girl again. Seeing Xiao Yang finally moved, the girl's pretty face couldn't help raising a smile, but then, after seeing Xiao Yang's slightly severe eyes, the smile just raised on the girl's pretty face also gradually disappeared. Like a child who made a mistake, he tooted his mouth and timidly took back his eyes. Seeing the girl's delicate appearance, Xiao Yang's heart softened, sighed low, and then said to the girl faintly, "After asking so many questions, don't you think you should report your name before asking others? What's more, I'm still your lifesaver." Hearing the speech, the girl glanced at Xiao Yang obliquely and muttered, "You are a big man. How can you be so stingy and bully a weak woman? You are a 4-star and a half emperor. If you are also a weak woman, there will be no strong men on the mainland." When Xiao Yang's words came out, the girl's pretty face suddenly stagnated, and a touch of crimson color appeared on her white face. Immediately, she smiled and said, "Well, who called you my life-saving benefactor? Hello, my name is Murong Chanshan. Murong is my last name, and Chanshan is my name." After the two people reported their names to each other, Murong Chanshan asked Xiao Yang many questions with a curious face. Xiao Yang took the trouble to answer most of them. As for some of them related to Xiao Yang himself, they were prevaricated by Xiao Yang or skipped directly. After that, Xiao Yang concentrated on refining the pill in front of the medicine tripod again. As for Murong Chanshan, he was bored lying on the stone bed. Although he wanted to get up, he had to lie back helplessly at the thought of the injury in his body. With the passage of time, nearly 100 kinds of medicinal materials in the medicine tripod in front of Xiao Yang eventually turned into all kinds of powders or viscous liquids. It was easy for Xiao Yang to refine the medicinal materials, but it took a lot of time. After a week of continuous refining, Xiao Yang, who was sitting on the bluestone platform, suddenly opened his eyes. At the same time, Xiao Yang raised his arm, waved his big sleeve, and opened the lid of the medicine tripod with a bang. Then, streamers shot out of the medicine tripod quickly. Immediately, under the control of Xiao Yang's soul power, they fell into the jade bottle prepared by Xiao Yang in turn. Whew! After finishing these, Xiao Yang breathed a sigh of relief, moved his sedentary body a little, and wanted to enter the next step of drug refining again. However, at this time, Murong Chanshan suddenly made a voice to Xiao Yang, and the timid voice of his words contained a sense of shame. "That. Xiao Yang, I. He hesitated for a long time, but in the end, Murong Chanshan still didn't say a word clearly. On the contrary, it was a pretty face as white as jade, but now it looked crimson. Seeing the girl like this, Xiao Yang couldn't help but frown slightly and turned to look like the latter. Xiao Yang frowned slightly, a suspicious look appeared on his face, and asked in a slightly impatient tone, "What's the matter? What's the problem?" In the past few days when Xiao Yang was quietly refining medicinal materials, the girl in front of him didn't want to be calm at all. He asked Xiao Yang many questions again and again. Xiao Yang ignored it and continued to refine the medicinal materials in the medicine tripod. However, Xiao Yang couldn't help but have a trace of curiosity when he saw the girl like this. I think. Murong Chanshan raised a pair of water lingling's big eyes and looked at Xiao Yang with a crimson face. He had reached the words of his mouth, but he couldn't help pausing again. "If it's all right, I'll continue to refine medicine. Don't bother me next, unless you don't want to recover the injury in your body." Seeing this, Xiao Yang also felt a sense of irritability. He frowned and said 2 words to Murong Chanshan at will. Soon, he wanted to sit down again and prepare to continue refining pills. "I want to take a bath." However, just as Xiao Yang turned around, the words from the girl's mouth made Xiao Yang's turn suddenly stagnate, and the whole person was stunned for a moment. After an instant, Xiao Yang turned back and looked at Murong Chanshan. Xiao Yang's face was a little low, and his voice was a little heavy. He said, "What has the final say to what you have done? What do you like to do and where to do? What to do, to wash, and where to wash, I will not stop you. But now, you are not making trouble with me, and do not think of your big mistemper. Now, I have the final say, but either be quiet and wait for your injury to recover, or you can leave." The words in the girl's mouth were not spit out, but Xiao Yang forcibly interrupted it with a word. Then he didn't bother to pay attention to it. He turned around expressionless and sat in front of the medicine tripod, preparing for his next step of refining pills. Just after Xiao Yang sat down cross-legged, Murong Chanxian, who had recovered some strength on the stone bed, only saw a pair of beautiful eyes with water spirit, but there was some fog. A delicate and lovely face also showed a look of grievance. Since entering the Shaolin Mountains, she has been chased and killed all the way. During this period, she didn't even have a chance to breathe. Now half a month later, she just wanted to take a bath, but she didn't expect to be treated so severely by Xiao Yang. A moment later, Murong Chanxian saw Xiao Yang's indifferent look and focused on the medicine tripod in front of him. The girl couldn't help choking in her throat. Finally, Murong Chanxian angrily bit her teeth and immediately forced her weak body to go to the outside of the cave with a pale face. As for Xiao Yang, he sat quietly in front of the medicine tripod from beginning to end, his eyes closed, and his expression remained unchanged. It was not until the girl left the cave and walked in the dark night outside that Xiao Yang's closed eyes slowly opened. At the same time, the void around Xiao Yang was slightly distorted, and his bony body slowly appeared. Looking at Xiao Yang, he gently raised his eyebrows and said, "Alas, boy, you won't really let her go. With the girl's current state, she can't go far." Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang shook his head, turned his head and looked at Jiuyu aside, joking on his face. "Don't you know whether I let her leave or not?" Seeing this, Jiuyu smiled and stopped talking. He twisted his body and sat on the stone bed, ignoring Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang also takes back his eyes and slowly closes his eyes. At the moment, in the exploration of Xiao Yang's soul power, Murong Chanxian's delicate body also appears in Xiao Yang's mind. Xiao Yang was relieved that Murong Chanxian left the cave. Because of habit, the cave Xiao Yang sought must be a place with mountains and water. Therefore, there is a pool outside the cave at the moment. At the moment, Murong Chanxian is walking slowly towards the pool step by step. The heart is divided into two uses. Xiao Yang left a trace of soul strength for Murong's body. Then, Xiao Yang sat in a good shape and poured all his mind into the eyes of the medicine. With Xiaoyan's mind moving, the essence of all kinds of medicinal herbs was put into the medicine tripod. Alchemy continued, and Murong Chanxian, who was also seriously injured, stayed outside the cave until Xiao Yang finished refining the pill in the medicine tripod. Once the pill was refined, it was another month. In the cave, Xiao Yang sat in front of the medicine tripod with his eyes closed. The vast soul power in the center of his eyebrows poured out and poured into the medicine tripod in front of him, trying his best to control the strange fire in the medicine tripod. Now, the Weibil process is coming to an end. Anti-inflammation must go all out to ensure that there will be no accident in the next process. At this moment, Xiao Yang is really devoted to his best efforts. After refining pills for a long time for a month, the huge consumption of soul power makes Xiao Yang's face look a little pale at the moment. There is a trace of sweat flowing out slowly between his locked eyebrows, which condenses in Xiao Yang's chin along Xiao Yang's cheek. The more it comes to this critical moment, Xiao Yang is more afraid to relax. The extreme tension of his nerve makes the consumption of Xiao Yang's soul power even more terrible. Sweat poured out from the pores of Xiao Yang's whole body, but in a short time, Xiao Yang's black robe had been soaked with sweat. Of course, the huge consumption of soul power is also directly proportional to the refinement of pills. Although the consumption of soul power makes Xiao Yang feel deeply tired, at the same time, the round pill in the medicine tripod also condenses rapidly. I believe that it can be really condensed in a moment, which will attract Dan Lei. At the same time, outside the cave, Murong Chanxian looked very dignified on her pretty face at the moment, looking at a group of warcraft flying from a distance. With Murong Chanxian's current state, she didn't think she could stop these guys. Damn, this guy's pill hasn't been refined yet. If you don't come out, how can I solve these guys alone? While Murong Chanxian cursed Xiao Yang, a group of warcraft in the distance had quickly approached here. In the blink of an eye, they had appeared outside the cave. The girl could see the first few warcraft in the group from a distance. At the sight of them, the look on Murong Chanxian's small face could not help a slight change. Among these warcraft, the strongest is the giant ape standing in the front of all warcraft. His strength has reached the level of 6 stars and half emperors. He can be regarded as the strongest within 1,000 miles. 6 star and a half emperor, this is not to say because of Murong Chanxian at the moment. Even at the peak, Murong Chanxian is determined not to be his opponent. Once the giant ape hits her, she will not doubt that she can't even stop his blow. Damn. I didn't expect to provoke such a guy. What kind of pill is Xiao Yang refining? Is it really the Imperial Pill? Murong Chantian was suddenly surprised. He could attract 6-star and half-emperor level warcraft. The pill refined by Xiao Yan can also be imagined. If he really refined the Imperial elixir, this Xiao Yan is really scary enough. Ha ha ha, is there someone to protect the Dharma? I'm still a little girl. However, this is also in line with my interest. Ha ha ha. Just when Murong Chantian was shocked by the pill refined by Xiao Yang in his heart, a strong figure was walking out slowly with laughter in the mountains and forests not far away. With each step he took, Murong Chantian could clearly perceive that the earth under his feet was trembling slightly. It was hard to imagine what terrible power was contained in this guy's body. Ha ha, yo, the little girl is still hurt. It seems that she hasn't recovered. So, the pill of the guy inside is refined for you. Ha ha ha. As the strong man stepped out of the woods, the warm sunshine fell mercilessly from the sky and shone on the strong man's whole body. The strong man is as strong as an ox, with a shiny head and naked upper body. At a glance, terrible scars spread all over the strong man's body, which can be called terrible. If you put this strong man together with Murong Chantian at the moment, it can be called a real beauty and beast. At the moment, the bald man was staring at Murong Chantian with an evil smile. A pair of animal red eyes showed the meaning of obscenity. Facing the strong man's obscene smile, Murong Chantian also snorted with disgust, and his pretty face looked cold. Ha ha, little girl, this little face looks good. Why is it so cold? But it's just what I want. Ha ha ha. With a laugh full of obscenity, the bald man waved his big hand fiercely, and several Taoist shadows behind him rushed towards Murong Chantian and wanted to take it down. You dare to touch Miss Ben? Murong Chantian snorted coldly when he saw several figures that had come in front of him in a moment, and his pretty face became colder and colder. Just when those people came to him and grabbed Murong Chantian with an obscene smile on their face, the girl's light toes gently touched the ground, and her body regressed, in the girl's smart eyes, but it quickly lingered on a strange blue fluorescence. Suddenly, a strange threat spread from Murong Chantian's body. In a twinkling, the look on his face suddenly changed to the people Murong Chantian caught. The body shape of several people who had rushed forward suddenly solidified in mid-air at the moment when the threat spread. The pupils of several people also suddenly contracted to the size of the tip of a needle. Even the beating heart stagnated at this moment. At the same time, a deep sense of fear quickly poured out from the bottom of these people's hearts, enveloping their hearts and minds, making them feel incomparable fear, so that even if their strength is far better than the girl in front of them at the moment, they dare not move at all. What's the matter? This little girl is weird. Let me have a look. Seeing this scene, the bald man was a little surprised, but then his strong body suddenly moved. In a flash, the strong man had appeared in front of those people. Until now, he understood why his men were resisted by a weak woman who was seriously injured. Feeling the invisible pressure, the strong man couldn't help but feel a little awe in his heart. The pressure came from blood, which means that the girl in front of him was not human at all, but just like them, but a warcraft race. Little girl, I can't imagine that I can perfectly hide my identity under the king's exploration, but even so, I must accept you today. Although the strong man felt uncomfortable, after all, his strength was far better than Murong Chantian. In addition, the latter was in poor condition at the moment, and the strong man was not afraid of her. The roar fell, the strong man twisted his body fiercely, and the huge soles of his feet stepped hard in the void, so he grabbed Murong Chantian again. Seeing that the strong man was not afraid of her pressure, Murong Chantian could not help but be awed in his heart. However, in the face of the strong man who attacked again, the girl at the moment was not careless at all. Her delicate body moved, so she hurried to one side and hid away. Stab. Although he successfully avoided the strong man smiled coldly and tore off the sleeve on the girl's left arm with a backhand. After a while, a white wrist like a lotus root was exposed to the air. Ha ha ha. I think you're still hiding. If you dare to hide again, I'll pick you up here. Ha ha ha. The strong man smiled wildly, his strong body moved fiercely, and rushed to Murong Chantian again. Boom. However, in the next moment, between the heaven and earth, there was a sudden thundering sound. Danley, now. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening thunder, the clouds over the people's heads and the vast sky changed color, and the original clear sky quickly became dark. The clouds on the sky stirred up, and a large amount of thunder clouds quickly condensed out to cover the world. Heaven and earth changed color, and the atmosphere between heaven and earth quickly became depressed at this moment. Murong Chantian felt a chill in his heart. Dan Lei condensed, while Xiao Yang was the only one. If no one protected the Dharma for him, then Dan Lei could only be resisted by him. With Xiao Yang's strength, how could he be Dan Lei's opponent? Asshole, why don't Dan Lei come early or late? It's just this time. With an angry scold in her heart, the look on the girl's pretty face quickly became dignified, her willow eyebrows frowned, her eyes looked at the dark cave, and her beautiful eyes showed an indelible color of worry. Ha ha. Dan Lei appears. Little girl, I want to see how your little lover can resist Dan Lei. Ha ha ha. Seeing the worried look in Murong Qianqian's beautiful eyes, the strong man immediately sneered. Then he looked at the girl's attractive body wrapped in a long skirt again. His eyes paused from the snow-white wrist exposed in the air. Immediately, the strong man stared at the girl's delicate face with a greedy smile. Why don't you, little girl? As long as you promise to follow me back, I can help your little lover fight Dan Lei down. How about that? Although he said so, the big man's move was just to get the imperial pill. After all, if no one resists Dan Lei, the imperial pill will be destroyed after all. Hearing what the strong man said, Murong Qianqian immediately felt angry, but due to the strength of the other party, he could only scold with anger and shouted coldly. If you dare to touch Miss Ben's hair, I swear, you will die in the Shaolin Mountains. Ha ha, there are many people who want the king's life, but little girl, you are not in Billy. With the strength of your 4-star and half-emperor, even if your injury recovers, how can you take the king? For the girl's angry drink, the strong man sneered, and a pair of animal red pupils showed a taste of bloodthirsty. Originally I wanted to keep a whole corpse of the boy inside, but in that case, I think it's not necessary. Ha ha. Boom. With the loud laughter from the strong man's mouth, the thunder cloud just condensed in the sky suddenly rolled violently. Then, an earth-shaking horror thunder suddenly fell from the thunder cloud and blasted at Xiao Yang's place at the moment. Boom. When the thunder came into the world, the cave where Xiao Yang was located was like a piece of tofu under the thunder. It was instantly smashed into a pile of vermicelli by the thunder. The whole mountain was cut open, revealing Xiao Yang in the hinterland of the mountain. Oh, he's really a delicate boy. No wonder he can be accompanied by such a beauty. But now, you beauty belongs to the king, ha ha. With a laugh, the strong man's body flashed suddenly, and rushed fiercely to Xiao Yang. Murong Qianqian saw this scene, and his pale face changed again. Regardless of the injury in his body, the girl's delicate body moved, and the weak delicate body appeared in front of the strong man in a moment. At the same time, the slender jade hand quickly raised, the finger crossed the fingertip, and a few drops of red blood immediately flowed out. With the sliding of the girl's fingertip, it condensed into a strange rune in the void in front of her. The moment when the rune condensed, it quickly turned into a streamer and disappeared into the girl's body. Boom. The next moment, the girl's delicate body suddenly shook, and a strong breath quickly poured out of the girl's body and turned into an energy storm, so that the strong man who came face to face could not help but stop his body. When the strong man stared away, he saw that Murong Qianqian's body was pouring out with a surging fighting spirit. At the same time, the girl's breath also increased rapidly. The originally weak fighting spirit in her body also quickly became full. Even her injury was forcibly suppressed at this moment. After a few breaths, the terror of the riot in the girl's body gradually stopped. At the moment, Murong Qianqian's strength has also reached the level of 5-star and half-emperor. However, Rao is so. At the moment, there is still a big gap between her and the strong man. Oh. I thought how strong you could become. Originally, it's only 5-star and half-emperor. But this secret method is good. If you can give it to me, I promise I will spoil you in the future, ha ha. Feeling the breath coming from the girl's body, the strong man was also a little surprised, but in a flash, his face showed a greedy smile again, laughed wildly, his scarlet tongue licked his lips, and said with a fierce smile. Ha ha, chick, since you can't wait to be picked up by the king is coming, ha ha ha. Hiss. The laughter fell, and a violent breaking wind suddenly sounded beside the girl's ear. A huge palm slapped down the girl's right shoulder. Seeing this, the look on the girl's cheek could not help but change slightly. The pale pretty face did not recover because of the strong breath in her body. On the contrary, while feeling the danger in front of her, her pale face looked more like white paper. The young girl's body was twisted, her mood was tense, and her fighting spirit surged in her body. At the same time, the jade hand reversed, and she slapped her hand at the void on the right side of her body. Stab. Murong Qianqian blew out, but he hit the emptiness. At the same time, the sleeve on Murong Qianqian's right arm was forcibly torn. Ah! When the girl was surprised, her delicate body retreated violently, her hands came out together, fighting with each other, and she immediately shot out and blasted fiercely on the surrounding void. But in the end, the girl was still for the strong man who had hit the terrible man with a blow. On the contrary, the strong man came to the girl again under several flashes. With a big hand, she tore off the skirt around the girl's waist. Without the skirt belt, the girl's long skirt suddenly became relaxed. While the girl's body flashed back, the wind blew, and the long skirt immediately dispersed with the wind, revealing a large area of spring under Murong Qianqian's long skirt. However, before Murong Qianqian's face changed, the strong figure appeared in front of the girl again and grabbed the girl's only water blue dress. At the moment of regaining consciousness, Murong Qianqian's pretty face suddenly became frightened. With a look of horror on her pretty face, her delicate body half lying back quickly retreated, hoping to avoid the bald beast in front of her. But unfortunately, although Murong Qianqian avoided the strong man, the long skirt that reached his feet was still caught by the strong man. Stab! Boom! While Murong Qianqian and the strong man were struggling to support, Xiao Yang at the moment just breathed out a breath. Facing the thunder falling from the void, Xiao Yang dared not have the slightest carelessness in his heart. After connecting the three terrible thunders, Xiao Yang at the moment can clearly feel that the terrible thunder force still exists in his own body, but after all, under the refining of Xiao Yang's strange fire, he was absorbed by him and became a part of Xiao Yang's strength. Standing up slowly, Xiao Yang not only felt dizzy. In order to better improve the quality of this pill, Xiao Yang did his best this time, which was more terrible for the consumption of soul power. At the same time, Xiao Yang was also quite satisfied with the results. This is the second imperial whole pill refined by Xiao Yang after the last imperial robbery pill refined at the Herbalist University meeting in the wild ancient city. Xiao Yang believes that with these two experiences, he will make a solid start for refining imperial whole pills again in the future. Thorn la la. High above the sky, the thunder clouds rolled. Xiao Yang just got up. In the thick thunder clouds, another shocking angry thunder burst out, just like the arrival of a Qiu Long, and bombarded Xiao Yang below. Mercilessly shook his dizzy head. Xiao Yang raised his head, narrowed his eyes, and looked at the terrible thunder falling rapidly. He immediately slowly took back his eyes, bent his fingers, and a black streamer shot out quickly, directly facing the rapidly falling thunder. As soon as his eyes turned, Xiao Yang looked in the direction of Murong Qianqian at the moment, but he happened to see that Murong Qianqian's thin skirt was torn by the strong man. In a short time, the girl's long skirt was torn to her thighs. A pair of light and beautiful legs were exposed to the air, so that many people in the field screamed and looked into the girl's eyes, full of greed. At the next moment, when the girl was full of panic, the strong man bullied him again and grabbed the girl's only short skirt with an obscene smile. Ha ha ha. In the sound of laughter, the strong man was getting closer and closer to Murong Qianqian's delicate body. The latter, due to the fear in his heart, forgot to dodge. If the dead ash solidified in the air, he looked at the strong man getting closer and closer in front of him with horror. The crystal tears in the girl's eyes finally burst out at the moment. However, at the next moment, when the big hand of the strong man was less than an inch away from the long skirt worn by Murong Qianqian, a palpitating yin wind suddenly blew between heaven and earth. Then, the next moment. Bang! The terrible roar was mixed with a terrible scream. Faintly, there was a slight sound of bone fracture, which was buried. Then, a group of Warcraft present saw a human figure, which flew out unexpectedly. At the same time, the bright red blood was sprayed out and dyed a large area of the ground red. Such an abrupt scene made everyone present completely silent in an instant. Everyone opened their eyes wide, and their eyes were full of shock. They looked at the figure that had been blown out until it fell hard on the ground. A huge deep pit appeared in front of everyone at the moment. All the people in the field stared at this moment. When they saw the man's face, the look on their faces suddenly solidified at this moment. Then, the sound of swallowing saliva continued to ring out in the field at this moment, and everyone's faces were full of horror, because the blown figure, it was the strong man who grabbed the girl the moment before. Then, when the crowd turned their eyes and looked at the girl's place at the moment, everyone's face could not help but change again. At the moment, it seemed that what appeared in front of them was not the old man they imagined, but a young man wearing a black robe and carrying a huge ruler. Wow! Suddenly, there was an uproar in the field, and Xiao Yang had no time to pay attention to it. His fierce eyes swept over the Warcraft turned into human form. The cold killing intention in his eyes made those guys who licked blood on the edge of the knife all day feel a cold meaning and rise from the bottom of his heart. The young man in black in front of them even made them feel a strong breath of death. This breath is condensed from the chi of killing and cutting. Only those who have experienced hundreds of battles can condense. It's hard to imagine that this ordinary-looking young man in black at the moment should be so terrible. If anyone provokes him, I'm afraid the outcome will not be good. Sobbing. Xiao Yan, you finally came out. If you don't come out again, I'm afraid I'll be really killed by this guy today. Sobbing. Seeing Xiao Yang in front of her, Murong Qianqian seemed to see the savior. The panic in her heart finally faded quickly. Her delicate body trembled and rushed into Xiao Yang's arms with a few steps of crying and howling, but she didn't find it at all. Because at the moment, her long skirt had been almost torn to pieces. In the process of jumping into Xiao Yang's arms, her long skirt was broken. Finally, he couldn't support it anymore and slipped down from Murong Qianqian's tender body. Therefore, at the moment, what pours into Xiao Yang's arms is not only a soft beauty, but also a natural beauty who can make people see the city's blood spray. Feeling the soft carcass in his arms, Xiao Yang's originally dizzy head suddenly became clear, but his whole face showed an extremely embarrassing appearance. Cough. Well, your skirt. Well. Xiao Yang coughed awkwardly for 2 times. The beauty in her arms lowered her light head with some doubts. Then, the whole pretty face became crimson in an instant, and the whole person's heart was speechless embarrassment. He quickly broke free from Xiao Yang's arms, but because the time for the secret method to be used happened to arrive at the moment, there was a very weak feeling in the girl's body, and the weak body could not help falling back. Seeing this, Xiao Yang's face changed slightly. He hurried forward and hugged one of Murong Qianqian's arms from behind. At the same time, the positive spring light of Murong Qianqian fell into Xiao Yang's eyes. At the same time, the pretty girl in her arms was unconscious again. This video will end here.